We got a little something special for you guys tonight. The SuperCast.
All right, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Super Podcast, is what I've been calling it. So we've got we were just joking because we've got a busy table and we're going to talk over each other and we're going to do our best to keep it listenable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Audible.
No promises.
Audible.
Yeah.
No promises at all. So we figured if we got four of us together, it's got to be a good podcast.
I couldn't agree more.
Why wouldn't people want to listen to us?
Right? And I think you also need to do like a monster truck intro at the beginning of this thing.
Tina rolling in late on a Super Podcast.
Super podcast.
Did you want me to
is the best
squeal
name.
my tires?
Yeah.
I would love
Yes,
that.
you should do that.
Put squealing tires in the.
Yeah, we'll
We
do
should,
it.
yeah. We'll leave that for the editing. Dale's on it. So we'll go around. We'll introduce ourselves, and we'll start with Brooke. Just kind of who you are, about your podcast, quick, and then we'll go around and we'll dive into some of our hot topics.
Yeah, so my name is Brooke Nichols. I run the Thousand Islands podcast. I get people on talking about what they love about living in the Thousand Islands, how they came here, what their favorite hobbies are. I'm really interested in community and connecting people, and so that was my goal, and it's been really fun so far.
So I am Tina Murray, and I co-host a podcast called CleanBreak with Daren, and he's here as well. And so our podcast started off from an organization we started 4 years ago called DivorceNet, 4-ish years ago.
November's going to be 4 years.
So it's called DivorceNet. It was called DivorceNet, and CleanBreak is the name of the podcast, and it was designed originally to talk to people about separation and divorce, and we're a group of professionals who specialize in that. And then we sort of morphed over the last year, I think, to sort of a broader lifestyle style type transitions, people going through transitions. So it's a little more lighthearted a little bit rather than the seriousness and sometimes the depressing parts of separation and divorce. So
Plus, we found that we couldn't find anyone to actually follow the show
That's
ongoing.
not true.
No, I'm kidding. I've been following this divorce podcast for the last 3
4
years.
years.
It's awesome.
Hey, honey, what are you watching? Divorce Podcast?
yeah.
That's not going to go over well.
It's hard to keep the fans, you know? So.
Well, that was part of the reason, right? Why we kind of switched it a little bit.
Exactly.
And you know, when we first started the group, we would be like, I would write things, or I'd have divorce books right on the kitchen table, or I'd write DivorceNet on the family calendar so they'd know I was out. And the kids started going, something we should know.
Yeah, is everything okay?
You and Dad okay these days?
So,
For sure.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well. By the way, and you forget to mention that you actually are Tina Murray from Dominion Lending.
I am.
Right? So that's the business, that's the biz.
Yeah. That's my...
We would have circled back at the
Yeah.
tail end about who we are outside of the podcast.
I never talk about that. I am a realtor, but I have been trying to keep like my realtor life and my podcast life separate.
Alter egos.
We keep
Yes,
ours
yes.
very closely tied to our
Okay.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
We just subtly mention it, but it's like, like at the end of the day, podcasting is amazing. You're sharing a lot, you're giving away a lot, but at the end of the day, you also want people to know who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Like as far as how you make a living, right?
Yeah.
So
who are you?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me just take off my Clark Kent glasses.
Oh my God, it's Daren!
Wow.
No, actually, I'm Daren Givoque, and I work for Asante and O'Farrell Wealth and Estate Planning. So I'm a financial advisor by day and amateur podcaster by night. Right?
And a
is there
published author.
Oh my God! Yes.
Oh.
Oh, that was like they rehearsed it. That was like stop it.
Oh no. Don't tell them that.
Sure. Yeah. But you know what? That all came about actually because of Dorset, right? So these are all just things that kind of like piggybacked on themselves. So yes. So I'm a financial advisor, and then the podcasting thing really came. Tina, you did a great job explaining it, but it's a lifestyle podcast. We just talk to people about interesting things, like transitions predominantly. We try to loop things back into life transitions. And it's surprising how many there are when you actually look at it, because we always thought, divorce and separation was the main anchor of the show, but it's really what we learned is that all these professionals were coming in that we were talking to saying, well, what about the transition of your home? What about the transition when your kids leave? What about the transition, which are all kind of like...
It's part of the ripple.
it's the ripple effect of the divorce separation thing. And I thought, you know what, we need to expand and talk to people about more interesting things. So
this was a natural evolution.
It was.
Yeah. And
sorry,
I was going to say we have it professionally produced now.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to be able to do that. But one of our producers who's kind of been with us at every show, and we're taping in Orleans right now, and so every show he just loves it. Doesn't he?
Oh,
and he's like, I got this idea, and I've got this idea, and you guys, oh my goodness, we should do this, and we should do this, and we're like, bring it on, Alex.
It must take longer to record then, doesn't it? Because man, I'd hate to have somebody creative telling me, oh no, you guys should switch chairs and do this with that statement.
No, he's just giving us ideas
dance break.
Of different shows we can produce.
Okay. Yeah, he's bringing topics.
Oh, that's
topics.
Cool.
And they're all set up. We get in there and we just sit and we do our thing, and they do their thing, and then we go home.
Yeah, I like that so much. I do.
I'm starting to get jealous.
Yeah, I am very jealous.
This side of the table's very jealous right now.
I am a garage podcaster for sure. Yeah.
But that's how we started out.
Yeah, I love the
video
thing though.
We were doing them in the O'Farrell boardroom, and getting people to come in, and then we had to try, because again, some people didn't want to drive to Kempville. So we were like, okay, we'll try the Zoom thing, but the audio quality, remember some of the shows, the early shows? Man, it was bad. The audio was like, I'm like, no one's going to listen to this.
And the sync goes off.
Yeah.
Well,
Dale has trouble with the recording of the audio versus the video on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Like it works, got us through the 2 years, but it's just not ideal. And Brooke said she didn't even do it.
No interest. If I can't be face to face with my person, with masks on, but if there's a full lockdown, I am also on lockdown.
Got it.
Yeah. Just don't want anything to do with
I think for us, one of the challenges is we wanted, there's some people we wanted on the show that just couldn't be present physically, right? Like Riley Moens was calling in from Toronto, and he's an author in Toronto.
Calgary.
Nice.
The most remote guest award goes to you.
Wait a minute. California.
Oh,
California.
Mine was the Dragon's
Take
Den
the award
person.
away, give it to you guys. I feel lucky with that.
Oh, damn it.
She was an actress. Remember, she had played on Grey's Anatomy.
It was Grey's Anatomy.
You win.
Yes.
They win.
Yeah, you deserve that award.
But she was a coach, a divorce coach.
Divorce coach.
Yeah, second career kind of thing. And she was, you could tell though that she definitely had her game on, right?
Oh my.
Her social media was tight, hooked up, it was professionally done. She did a great job, and she was probably getting the most amount of traction in the divorce segment for coaches in the US. I just saw something online from her, and I was like, I'm gonna reach out and say hello. Reached out and said hello. I said, would you like to be on the show? She's like, absolutely, send me a link. I was like, am I talking to the person who organizes your calendar, or is this actually you? And she's like, no, it's me. I take all initial consultations.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So,
and we had one from BC.
Yeah, Cindy came from BC as well. She was another professional from BC that we worked with.
So, we'll go with the flow of this. So I found when I started, Dave Annable, the pro.
Introduce yourself.
Hi! Playing host there for a minute. I'm Batman. So Dave Annable, the Pros Talk. Day job is an architect with Annable Designs, but more so with the Pros Talk. It comes from the Approved Professionals, which is a B2B organization that I started 7-8 years ago. And this was a way to get members out. And where I'm going to go with what you were talking about was the evolution of podcasts.
Yeah.
So, I started it to only highlight people from the organization and give them a media outlet to advertise and promote what it is they do. Everyone we get memberships from is chicken and doesn't want to be on. Doesn't want to be on.
Wow.
So well, I'm just saying, the first season we did, I think like 8 episodes, and then tanked. And I was gonna be like you, where every episode I was gonna every week I want an episode every week. And I'm like, oh my god, what did I commit to? So we went dead for 4 months, but then we got into. We're all tooting our own horns. I'm number 12 in the top 25 Canadian podcasts.
Wow.
Good job, buddy.
And then we got in with the Dragon's Den people. So we started getting these bigger people that were either pitching or were led to, work on their business. I was given as a resource to contact to advertise their business.
Yeah.
And then a few key leads from people that got me, like Brock Frost and some of these bigger ones, and we exploded. So I would say half of my audience now is coming out of Toronto or Montreal, and that's where we're getting our recruitment from. So it's really shifted the dynamic. So I want to talk to each one of you is, where did you see it start? And has it evolved, and where kind of are we going now? So for us, I started local, Brockville. I was going to try to showcase everybody around here, but it's grown into a bigger talk about business, and it's not location isolated.
Yeah, I'm very much location isolated.
So
I enjoy being location isolated. Like, that really helped me during COVID. I'm working with local people. Like, I was able to still do interviews when we weren't in full lockdown because I can just find them in the recorder in times. Like, anyone interesting that I have found, like, they're guaranteed to be local. So when you were talking about people within your organization, I don't really know how big it is, but eventually you're going to run out of people, even if
60.
they're not chicken.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't really think I could run out of people. This is very much just a hobby for me, but I wanted to kind of connect the community. No one was really doing it. So I don't know that it has, like, super evolved. Like, I have stayed pretty consistent, hyper local. What do people love about the Thousand Islands? But I don't know if you guys know who Carolyn Bennett is. Not the MP, but the writer who moved here. You may have seen her article about, I moved to Brockville to escape the Toronto housing market. What next? And that got a lot of traction. She actually reached out to me. This is my version of tooting my own horn. She reached out to me and was like, I've moved to Brockville. I've been following your podcast. I'd like to be an interview. So that was really fun.
Awesome.
Isn't that an accomplished? Like, does it feel awesome?
Yeah, somebody knows
it's like
who I
somebody
am.
listened.
Yes.
I had that moment. I remember
That's
that.
huge for me. Yeah, so we could say that we've evolved a little bit in that someone has actually asked to be my guest. That was very exciting for me, but I'll probably stay local. Like, I would branch out, like, a little further around the Thousand Islands, but I don't know that I would, like, change it.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
What about you
Thousand
two?
Island Podcast, right? So
Yeah, that would be
kinda
hard to shift.
Yeah, you don't want to be like,
The Canada
Yeah,
podcast.
and area.
and
Thousand
area,
Islands.
including Kingston
Thousand
and
Islands area.
I mean, Thousand Islands are big. You know, that's a
Right.
great. I
Huge.
can expand pretty far with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because there are 1,000 islands.
There's 1,000 of them. I'm not gonna run out of content here.
No.
So
we
many
should talk
islands.
about the smugglers. Get some history
Ooh,
buff
the
on there and
history
talk
of the
about
Thousand Islands.
That would be fun. I'd listen to that show. For
Okay,
sure.
I did. One way that I branched out, and I haven't continued it, but it was really fun, is I follow all the local What's Going On in Brockville area pages, and I was doing the Worst Comment Awards, because sometimes it really
That was good.
brings
I
out the
enjoyed
worst
that.
in people. Yeah.
The Worst Comment
Sometimes
Award?
people say nasty, nasty things to each
She was
other.
highlighting
And
the worst comments
I gotta hear that.
on the
so
public.
I've only done
Facebook
one.
pages.
I will probably do others. But so just
damn.
when people say something really terrible or mean or just something horrible, I was reading, like, the top 10 worst comments of the week.
So you're reading them on the podcast?
Yes. It
Oh,
was
that's
just
awesome.
me reading the
Listening to that
comments.
in my
But now
sleep.
she's got 3 times the listening audience. All
Yes.
those arses that made comments in the past year are going to go back and have to
Oh,
listen
I
to her
know.
Well, I
podcast.
said too, like, if this
Did
was
you
your
say the
comment,
names of the
no,
people?
I'm not doxing people.
Bam!
No, but I was like, if this was your comment and you'd like to complain, please email me. I did not get any hate emails,
Or better
so
yet, take it down.
Well, it reminds me, because when I saw that
love that.
on your podcast, when I saw that, there was a contestant on, I think it was America's Got Talent, that did a song of all her YouTube negative comments.
oh,
Wow.
She did it was a song of
That's
you should give this up, you need another lifestyle, like it was you are horrible, but she sang them.
Wow.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
great.
It was amazing. That's what I thought of when I saw. I was like, please make this a regular occurrence.
I am going to. That was actually fun, and
That would be
There's a lot of
something I can do
trolls
by
online
myself.
now.
Doesn't take a lot of
But
prep.
why not give
Yeah.
them fame?
Oh, I think it's great.
Oh, I love
like,
that.
I think if you go back 10 years ago, like, people were more outwardly supportive. Whereas now, because people are online so much,
Yeah.
it's become there's a lot of trolls.
Yeah.
They're almost empowered because they can say what and do whatever they want.
No
behind-
consequences.
Behind
no
the screen.
consequences.
And I have 2 that I know of on the podcast that I have to watch for the comments, and on YouTube, and the other that, it is that way. So,
It's unfortunate.
what
Yeah.
about CleanBreak? The start to the evolution. I know you touched on it, but
Yeah. Okay, some of the things were more like, so when Daren and I first started, to me, I took broadcast journalism.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Didn't know that.
So I did broadcast journalism in college. I was on the radio station, Smiths Falls. I worked at CTV. So being in front of a camera, being in front of a microphone, well, I sometimes still get nervous per se, but it doesn't scare me whatsoever. I do a lot at the church, etc. So Daren is like,
Oh God.
I don't know how many times I've reached over and just gently put my hand
doing that.
Because it was like, because I was nervous, right? Like, I mean, the first, maybe 10 shows, 12, 20 shows maybe. She just starts talking. She's just like, hey, and she's laughing and giggling. And, she's like, it was really natural for her. And I'm like, I struggled with,
Just a slower start.
Yeah,
well,
I did.
And even you wanted to be rigid in your this is what we need to ask. We've got to get this all out. And
that doesn't work.
But again, we've evolved, right?
Yeah.
So we're much more natural with that. I know Daren still goes in with all kinds of notes, and I'm like, oh, what are we doing today?
Yes.
I must try.
Do you hardcore prep?
So okay, at the beginning when we first started, for sure, like we were like, trying to stay in the box. I totally agree with what you're saying, because looking back on it, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because we started off with a 30-minute show. We tried to drop down to a 20 because I was like, I know.
That's rushed.
We were like, okay, we're going to try to get this done in 20 minutes because people want the value. They just want the advice, and that's it. Get in there.
It's setting the Blue Yeti off like crazy.
Yeah, you're still doing that.
Bang. You got to do it. Right? Get it done. Well, I'm so about don't waste people's time. Like my time, because I called somebody out the other day about this, and they were all apologetic about missing a meeting with me. And I said, listen, you don't have to apologize to me, just don't let it happen again. And I said, point blank, this is not me trying to be rude.
No.
Here's the thing. If you have a week's notice to let me know about something, then just tell me. But we are all busy, and we set our calendars months in advance.
Based on everyone else but ourselves.
Right. So we say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I'm like adamant. It's gotta be good, and it's gotta be valuable, and let's move on, right? Yeah. So that's where I started.
Yes.
Now Tina is much more fluid.
Yes.
Which thank God for Tina, because what my weaknesses are her strengths, and I hopefully in a certain way I compliment the other way.
Absolutely.
But the first 20 shows were, they were okay. We got lots of value, but you could tell the chemistry was hard because people were talking about, divorce and separation and all this stuff, and they were giving really good advice, but we could literally see the listenership drop off around the 20-minute mark. So we tried to compress it into 20 minutes. And then we found ourselves really rushing
through to get all the information we wanted.
And it wasn't fun.
No.
And then I think probably around episode 60 or 70, we said, okay, we got to go back.
That's a lot.
Right?
That's insane.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, and then we went back and we said, that's it. Let's go back to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We picked up a lot of that stuff from you because I'm like, let the show go where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Which I find hilarious. Because you're getting to know me. Brooke, this is our first intro kind of, but Tina knows me well. I'm anxiety through the roof. I'm ill to my stomach before an episode.
Really?
I can't talk. When I'm at the gala, I was petrified.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have picked up on that.
Nobody does, but I'm bad. So for me, it was the same way. I thought 20 to 30 minutes for a podcast, that's like the interest level number, and that's what Buzzsprout and all these other places tell us is a maximum. I'm at 120. I'm an hour 20.
Wow.
And my listeners pick up.
Yeah.
It went upwards.
Yeah.
Theo Graham, we did an hour and 46 minutes.
Wow.
And it has the most downloads.
Hour and 46.
And it is 86% listened to.
Wow, that's
I
amazing.
can't understand that. I personally wouldn't listen to a podcast that was that long. Even when I listen to podcasts, I put them on double speed because I'm just always questioning everything.
She's like, I recognize Dave's voice, but he sounds more like a chipmunk.
Yeah.
When I listen to his
Where's that chipmunk sound going?
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
And Daren sounds like he's in like a hard rock demo. He's just beating the table.
I mean, I got stuff to do. I got to get it in my brain.
Well, how long do
You
you do?
can come back to
I
it,
like
though.
20 or 30 minutes.
Oh,
That's
really?
great for
So
me.
you're the short
but-
and sweet.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I have my questions and I will, like, change what I'm asking depending on what they're saying.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if someone is, like you said, really nervous, they will give me, like, really short one-sentence answers, and I'll have, like, a 10 or 15-minute podcast because I'll run out of questions and they won't really be giving me a lot of information.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That's where I do get compliments like what you just did is I seem to be able to pull that conversation and
Yeah.
ask the right questions.
That's a
and I'm
good skill.
fortunate. I don't know where it came from because, again,
Yeah.
I'm the one that's nervous sometimes, not the guest.
Yeah.
But you make people feel settled.
I try,
They
but
wanna
But I think
I like to know a little bit about everything. So I'm actually very intrigued in brokerage, in DivorceNet, in wealth management, in real estate, in architecture. So I really, like, I talk to the RV guys, the Young Farts RV Parts. I have nothing in common with these guys. Short of we're both a bit of clowns, but these are high school, barely high school graduates that stumbled into a business, are across Canada now, landed on Dragon's Den, got 5 offers, went through the whole thing. And you know what he says to me during the podcast? Do you know any good accountants? We don't have one. That's why the deal fell through.
Oh my God, really?
It didn't get through due diligence.
Wow.
they didn't have.
They never have. Mom, he leans over. Mom, that's the accountant.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my
wow.
goodness.
Wow.
They have no clue what they're doing. The guy during high school was selling, I forget what he said, something, 42 vehicles, and then got called because he found out it wasn't.
It wasn't legal to do that.
He's not a dealership. He was just buying them used, fixing them, and selling them,
Wow.
and making a fortune while he was 15 years old.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
it's just like, and he's like, he said in the podcast, math's not really my strong skill. It's like we barely
Love
made it
this
through
guy.
high- It was awesome,
Love the
but
hustle.
But you know what I mean? So you gotta, but we had an awesome communication, great conversation, funny to the point.
Yeah.
I was able to pull stuff about rookie mistakes, and I felt like I was the dad kind of saying, accounting, part 1 of business owning.
What have we learned?
The CRA is not your friend. So I
Even
was
when they say they are.
I always find that gift of gab. You got to really, and that's the evolution of my podcast. Was we really started getting to the person behind.
Yes.
I wanted to spend
Yeah.
5 minutes finding out about your business,
Yeah.
but then I want to know you. What's your idiocies? What do you go to?
Yeah.
What's something funny?
Yeah.
And it makes the conversation, and I find my guests go, oh,
So what's your secret? How do you do it?
whiskey.
Just
Oh, so
Drink
daytime
up.
podcast is my problem. It needs to be nighttime
But no,
podcast.
it's really, I think I take my nerves and I'm constantly thinking of what is my comfort to get me out of anxiety, and I want to put that on you.
yeah.
You
I
want to
want
put
to
the
make
anxiety.
No,
on
I
other
want
people?
to get that relief on you. So I want to talk
yeah.
about my wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll settle me.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about the grandkid.
Yeah.
That'll settle me.
Yeah.
I want to say, Daren, your wife, or you know, if you look nervous, and
Yeah.
try to pull that through, and it really helps. And then next thing you know,
They're just talking.
They're just
and it's an
talking.
hour and 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
People come in and they're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do an hour. So, well, we'll shoot for an hour. And then I always remove the screensaver and show them. And we're normally well over 140, 150. And then Dale edits back,
Wow.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
It just-
wild.
I think the thing about it is literally just having a conversation, you know, and that's
Yeah.
what we've tried to tell a lot of our guests as well as we've evolved, that we're just having a conversation. Just talk to us.
Yeah, we had Curtis on.
Yeah, you had Curtis on.
Curtis, he's 22?
20.
20.
20, yeah.
Just getting into...
And he was just 20 because he was
Just,
in
that's right.
February while I was
getting
away.
into, I know him personally, so he's getting into house flipping. He was getting into investments. Smart young kid, just starting off as mortgage. Nervous as could be, I guess, beforehand, but I couldn't tell. And we sat, and ours was a good, I think it was like an hour 20.
Wow.
And he rocked it. He did awesome.
Well,
And
he did 2 in the same weekend because he did
Yeah, he
yours
went
on
over
the
to yours
Saturday,
after.
or ours that I failed on.
But I think it's
probably
that,
cursing me.
you know, I've had a guest that was a nightmare to talk to, and he was super nervous, and we were under an hour. I wasn't happy, but I'm never not going to publish that content because it's not fair to say, well, your anxiety took over. Well, no, I want him to see how good he did and come back on a podcast again and let's rock 130 or something, right? Like, but it's, I don't know, like we're doing right now, just asking that question and letting it go off on a path. So what do you do? Knowing when to roll it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and go back to kind of like the topic at hand. What do you do with repeat guests? Because I have zero plan for repeat guests.
It's tricky because you got to watch your stats. Tina's a repeat. Willie from FBC wanted a repeat because he did a Zoom, and we wanted a good in person. But I think we were smart, and we talked about conventional mortgages.
Yeah, we talked.
And then we came back to self-build mortgages.
Now,
so it's got to be a guest that you can do both. We could do both sides with you as well, because there's two avenues of your profession.
You know, the other thing is that I thought of this afterwards after listening to a couple of some of your other podcasts since I last taped, and I was like,
for only 20 minutes. Not the full hour.
I just shut them off after 20 minutes.
No.
She's when that's
that's me. Well, I put it on triple speed so I can get it all.
Oh my God.
Sorry, even if you don't hear it, it's just in there, right?
What?
It's in your brain.
It gets in your brain, yeah. No, but you know what? We've actually never talked about me.
No,
and I shouldn't say that. But we've talked.
It's all about me.
It's all about me, Daren. Come on now. No, but you know.
Do we have a theme for this episode?
We do now.
Tina.
So my name is Tina Murray. It used to be Tina.
But you're right.
But you know what? We've talked business, and I've listened to some of the podcasts where you're actually having conversations about where they came from, how they got, not how they got started in their businesses, but where they came from. And I'm like, we've never gotten that.
I wonder if that's a flaw because I know you so well.
Because you know me, yeah.
Yeah. What I'm
because that's the harder interview.
Which one?
We all set our spouse across the table, or our best friend, or our mother,
People
or our
You're
father.
not going to interview them about who they are.
You wouldn't, because you mentally assume.
Yeah, what would you even ask?
Exactly, but whereas it's somebody you're just building a relationship like ours, we always have great conversations, but we sat down and we have other appointments. We gotta go.
Actually, I think I mentioned where's the beer.
Exactly.
We get the pictures. But you can see it. You can see a switch in people when they go from business talk or something they're trying to promote to talking about themselves. Because I think everyone has a sign on their chest that says, "Listen to me. I want everyone to know about me." They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk. Most people want people to know about them because we're social creatures, right?
Yeah.
It's when you get them in that groove, and we see it on our podcast all the time. We start off here, and a great one was with Nancy. Like the other day, we had the mayor on.
Yeah.
We were interviewing the mayor, and you could see she was in political business
mayor mode.
For the first part,
Yeah.
but then right about the halfway mark, when we started getting more personal questions, like, what are you proud of that you've accomplished?
Yeah.
And then she just stood up, and then she was very personable, and it was like, I'm so happy we did this, and we did this, and this is what we were trying to accomplish. And you could tell it wasn't just a pitch; it was she was proud that she was involved with something. That
I
was
shoot
gonna
for
be
that in the
lasting.
first 10 minutes, and that's why my boarding app is the way it is, because I want people to get that crap.
Right.
I want the facade in 10 minutes gone.
Right.
And then I want it real. I want it raw. I want to talk the experience. Who is that other person?
Yeah.
Who is the real person? Because those that know me, I do not do fake. I do not like fake. I am blatantly honest.
Yeah.
I want that. And I know how to get to it.
And you lose listeners pretty quick too.
Yeah.
If you don't.
If it's that whole Dave Annable Designs. I design houses.
Yeah.
Come see me for house design. That's boring.
Yeah.
They want to see that fun side. They want to see the jokey side and that clear content, which is when you stick local. I'm curious how long that can be maintained. But if you're doing, again, I love your podcast.
Thanks.
So, I really do. And I think since I've gotten into podcasts, I've listened to more and more to try to, like you said, we're all sponging off of each other.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to.
Yeah.
Well, even when you came in earlier, Brooke was like, there's other podcasts here?
Yeah.
Thought it was just us. And I was sharing with her. I didn't know she was at the gala.
It was just us.
Yeah, I didn't know you were at the gala.
Yes.
And she did a post, and I just happened to sit at my table, saw the Instagram, and it was like Thousand Islands Podcast at the Approved Professionals Gala. And I was like, what? Like, it was almost like she's here. I didn't know it. And it was like starstruck.
Oh my god.
No, I will not sign your
I think I messaged you saying, like, what the heck? Why didn't you come over and say hi?
Well, you were like running the event, so I was.
Well, Victoria was
doing
running
your
the
thing.
event, but she was there with the big group of Marianne's group and had no clue. And I think that's what started the I want to do a super podcast, because I'm like, we shouldn't not know each other. We shouldn't not cross promote.
This is a great idea.
It's just a no. Yeah, you and I spoke about it. It was like, yes.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. And I was telling Brooke, like, Harper Cody with Boys in the Booth, they want to jump on now too. They want, let's get another 2 podcasters plus myself, and let's do it again.
Yeah.
And he it's the same way. I look up to his podcast, and he's got sponsors with Manscaped and a few other things, but he's like me. We're only at like 26 episodes. We're not rocking 70 episodes or something.
109.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy
we've
moly.
been going pretty hard.
Woot woot for you two.
Their second award today. They're getting so many.
Yeah, Dale, we need to put like little awards up on the screen every time.
We just keep doing it. We're just like, it's...
And is it weekly?
So we got into a habit of recording once a month. And that's right back to the beginning. We were
Right
like,
from
look,
the very
we're
beginning.
too busy to be doing this and
Every week,
breaking it up. We said we're going to do 1 day a month. We're going to record like 3 to 4 podcasts and we're out, right? And so we take that block on the first Saturday every month from like 9 to 12.
So it is a weekend, and you rock 4 episodes.
Yeah, we're tapering down to 3 now.
And what about how did you do yours, Brooke?
If everything was perfect and I was doing things consistently, I would be 4 episodes. I would be at least 3 episodes ahead, and I would be doing them every week. Like,
so you were recording 1 at a time,
yes,
and publishing it within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
So that's exactly what I was doing. We were recording 1 or 2 on a Monday, because I'm closed Mondays.
Yeah.
And publishing within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that got too much for me. So doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it can be a little bit at a time.
Smart but crazy.
But I think that's one of the reasons why
I'd be drained after 2 podcasts.
Oh, we're drained out.
Yeah, we are.
The last time we did 4.
Because mentally you're done with all the questions.
I've never done more than 2.
Last time we did 4.
It was too much.
And we were in Orleans.
Yeah.
So we just, you drive to Orleans and...
What's in Orleans? Oh, your studio.
Our
They went into
Gold Star.
We're working on one for Campville next month, by the way.
We were just on our way to our studio.
See, you're just like me. The pinky had to go out a little bit. It's our studio. Brooke and I rehearsed. We're gaining up on you.
Wait, that's okay. We got big shoulders.
And a big studio.
It is 100% all Daren. Like, he is the it is. I just go along for the ride, really, but that's our personalities too.
But that's another benefit of doing this is like Daren and I've talked twice now. We've talked equipment and the idea of, we were even talking about a space that we could both use when you were sourcing this and figuring it out.
Yeah.
But it makes life easier if we all had like a share space, and we all had, Brooke, you dove right in. You're like, well, what's all this equipment?
I was like, what is this? What are these? Tell me all about them.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's something that I find a lot of podcasters there's no resource on what do I need. And like mine's the Scarlett mixer. I miss it right now for the Yeti setup. So my Scarlett mixer is a godsend. And
you used to have something.
Yeah,
like
well,
that,
when we have the 4 mics or
couple
the 2 mics or whatever. So it isolates tracks, and it processes white noise and sends it into Audacity. And so it really takes a step away from Dale that he has to worry about.
Yeah.
And then it's really clean. And I can I'm very loud and monotoned. So I can set my level, and I could set yours custom to you, and vice versa, all the way around the table. And I prefer the directional mics.
Yeah.
This one's catching broadband all the way around the room. But there's really no, like, mine was stumbling. And I reached out to Randy Orr with Helian Orr.
Yeah.
He helped me a lot with some of the tech questions I had and how to clean it up and what to run it through. And Buzzsprout has a lot of resources, but it's really one track.
Yeah.
It's meant to catch the masses.
Right.
So we both use Buzzsprout. What do you guys use?
Anchor.
Yeah,
we broadcast for Anchor, but
and it handles all your RSS feeds and your processing. It sends it all
out to
everywhere.
Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, same with Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
One thing for me, and I total respect for what you do, like when it comes, because you're a lot like I am. You'll get into the details. I was just having this conversation with my nephew,
right?
And we were talking about my bike, my motorcycle, and I went out to Harley. I bought the jug of oil. I bought the filter, then I got the transmission fluid, then I got and I brought it all home, and I was going to do everything myself.
Yeah.
And then I got pulled 10 ways from Sunday to do a whole bunch of things around the property and help people out. Didn't get to the bike. So 3 weekends goes by. I grabbed everything up like that, put it in the back of my trunk. My nephew says, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "This is all going back to Harley Davidson, and the bike's going in, and someone's doing it for me."
Yeah.
And I think the reason I'm saying that is it's not that I'm not capable and interested in that. It's time management. For me, it's all about, look, I got to suck the most amount of value out of every hour. And if giving it away to someone else to get the end product of the joy of having what I want at the end is what I want, then
Like a motorcycle that starts.
Yes, and it's going to drive, and exactly. It starts and just break down for me. And yeah, but I also enjoy the journey too, because I love what you do. Like when you're talking about it, I'm like, oh, I could totally get into this. Yes. You know, like I could see myself just getting sucked into setting the perfect studio up, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, not.
But then I'm like, okay, where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put it in the calendar? So then that's where I just, we see a problem, we try to find the solution. And when I was talking to you, I was talking to Francois, who does Live Stream Junkies. That's all they do. That's all they do is live feeds on the internet. They're branching off into podcast studios. And him and I were talking about it. And this guy went from like him and 2 other people to 12 employees now in a year, a little over a year.
That's insane.
And it's just online content. So this guy is so dynamic and in trying to find where the new path is. Him and I struck a conversation at the beginning of this year, at the end of last year, and I said, look, if you ever know someone that's going to be interested in doing a podcast studio, let me know, because I said I'll be your first client. 2 months later, this is the way this guy thinks. Two months later, he's like, I'm setting a studio up for you.
Somebody in Brockville needs to start a podcast studio for us.
Yeah, I mean, we're putting it out there now.
Yeah.
Somebody should do it.
Somebody start it, and you'll find the people.
Well,
this guy was
I'll be in.
He's an opportunist, right? Like, he's like, if people are going to pay, I will create the end result for you.
That's cool.
That's the way he thinks.
So he's got a studio in Orleans where a lot of his staff are, but he lives, and Allison lives in Kempville. Don't they both live in Kempville?
Yeah, Allison's in Kempville. He's in Osgood.
Oh, Osgood. Yeah. So anyway, they have a studio in Kempville, but because most of his staff are in Orleans, that's why we were going there. But now I think we're going to be able to go to Kempville.
Next month. Next month.
For our next day.
Which, again, time management, you're not trucking all the way into Orleans for the convenience. But I would love to have one set up around here, but it's always space, and then we get into time management. But the more I talk to other podcasters, which, yes, there are other podcasters, and they're up and coming. Mm-hmm. I actually know 4 or 5 that failed. They just couldn't get it going, and
there is a time commitment.
I think there's an art as well,
especially at the beginning, right? What are you willing to put into it, and where are you going to go with it?
Well,
right?
What are you expecting in return? Like you're not going to get fame and fortune, so like you're going to have to keep grinding.
That's a great So why did you Are you doing it for the love of Thousand Islands?
I'm doing it for the love of community. I just want to be connecting with people and connecting people to other people and having fun. So, there's a commitment involved and there's time involved and, some planning and stuff. That's not always the most fun. But, the result is worth it if I am able to, it's the art. It's, the beauty of the thing that I've created. It's not necessarily, the number of listeners or the stats.
100%.
So that keeps me going, which means that I don't need, a ton of result to still be happy.
Yeah. And I think that, and it shows because, again, mine, you were around before mine, and I knew of your podcast, and it was one of the ones that I was watching. And with mine, it's, I think, my passion for business. Mm-hmm. That's 100%. I want to know... Mm-hmm. Why are we all nut jobs as entrepreneurs? Why?
Good question.
Why, no, I want to know. I get in a lot of conversations with them. Do you wake up at 2:00 and wish you had a notebook because that's when it finally processes?
Right? There's a notebook on the side of my bed.
Same. Yeah. But and then you guys with the podcast was DivorceNet, and it was kind of a better medium. I think to help through topic progression.
Mm-hmm.
It was very specific and niche oriented,
yeah,
and it was very effective. I was surprised. I probably can revert back to at least a dozen, probably close to 20 people who reached out to me directly because of the podcast, asked questions about their divorce. Mm-hmm. So it was incredibly effective. I just didn't find. I felt like we gave away as much value as we could
on that side,
on that topic. And I felt, if we were going to keep doing it, I wanted to have a little more joy in doing it, which was, let's talk about lifestyle. Let's talk about journey. Let's talk about more than just the silo. And it's probably going to impact the show's effectiveness in that group of divorcing, separating type of clientele. I think you and I decided we don't really. Yeah. It's not that we don't care, but it's like we want to do it because we want to still have the passion for it.
Yeah, so that's great because I have another podcast and it was very political. It's called What the Fuck Canada, and we did it through the heart. It may come back. We're going into a few elections, so
I won't come on until I'm retired.
Well, we're kicking ourselves now because we almost had Pierre Poilievre as a guest, and it was like a scheduling conflict, and we just said, "Meh, let's let it slide." Now could be a prime minister, and we're like, we should have had him on. But anyway, we found we were negative at the end. Yeah. It was killing our spirit, and we were covering. I covered provincial, he covered federal. The two of us, Bob and Tom. But it was impacting us, and that's kind of what you're talking about. Is we at the end of the day, like you said, it's not that we didn't care. Like politics is a passion of mine, and a passion of TJ's. It was just why are we going home angry? Just on fact. And we just stopped, and that turned my podcast, my bread and butter one, to be more fun. And maybe that's where Brooke struck it out in the beginning, was you knew it was community. Yeah. And you knew it was that bubbly passion that you have for it, which is awesome. That's a compliment. But it's you were one of the fortunate ones to pick that path first and didn't need that quick evolution.
Yeah, because when you described that, I was like, oh no, I have a great time every single time. I always leave feeling good.
We just found we were angry when we got home. It was like the reality of what was happening, and we were covering Saskatchewan, we were covering Alberta, we were covering obviously everything happening in Ontario, and it was just like we did the podcast, was fun, but at the end of it we just found like we had shorter fuses when we got home to our families and everything else, and nothing is worth that weight. Right, so we found it was just that. But it's amazing, I've talked to other podcasters, Harper, and they had to transition and shift, and because it's just two guys talking hockey and hockey had to have some fun. And he picked up a few things from me that he said he started doing, and just, kind of like, there was another podcast I was listening to, and they did like the top 10 worst food you've ever tasted. What's your favorite pet peeve of your spouse? Just really,
I like that.
It was like a rocket round questions of, you're going to get yourself in trouble of 9 of 10 of the answers.
I like that.
And I thought, well, it's like your worst comments on the social medias. It's just awesome.
Aspect of it, but they're all like softball questions. I should get the pet peeve of your spouse thing in there, see what happens.
It is, because I think it's awesome.
I like that.
I don't know if you should do it on a divorce podcast.
No. Well, we are a lifestyle podcast now. So.
Biggest pet peeve of your spouse. My spouse's lawyer.
We interviewed somebody a few weeks ago, or on our last round of taping, and she was a matchmaker.
Oh yeah, Misty Rivers.
Yeah, Misty Rivers, and it's not a dating, like what are those? I don't even know.
Yeah, the plenty of fishes
style of thing. But she literally is a matchmaker.
Wow.
What was that? What's the Will Smith movie?
Hitch.
Yeah. So like that, where it's
she's
just
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it would be a dying art.
No.
Well, she's doing very well. I think like in the thousands of dollars for the introduction.
Okay.
Yeah. And she works until she finds you.
But her stats are probably numbered married. Is it like the number she's got that right?
You must get a bonus if they get married, at least.
I don't know. Maybe that's the upgrade package.
Yeah, I
don't know. But
casual girlfriend or married. Like you gotta choose.
Yeah. No,
you're just looking for a temp. This one will get you 3 months like high school.
Can you sign this contract, please?
I don't think she's in the dam.
No. But she has some great stories, though. She did have some good stories.
Yeah,
I was just like...
And that's the part that makes my
It's
joy,
fun.
is the stories.
It's fun.
And like, I've had some pretty wild things said.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
You know, again, Brock Frost gave his phone number because I was teasing him about, you're going to find the girl that's right. Well, listen, I'm willing to try.
Oh, yeah, like...
His number came out like
Curtis
Curtis
wrote it down.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Curtis and he was in like Ecuador or El Salvador or something like that, and Curtis is texting him and they're going back and forth.
Because he's an approachable guy. He's a great guy. And for a mentor, like Curtis wanted him as a mentor, Brock will respond.
Yeah.
Like he's great. He is a great dude. And we had like a bromance right out of the gates.
We could hear that.
Yeah, I think we did. It was. Well, I told you, he pulled up in his Audi M8, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Look. He goes, "Yeah, this thing's not made for families."
I thought Curtis was critical about that.
Yeah.
This is an Audi M8. He should have had something else. And I'm like, what? Okay, Curtis. Like whatever.
Yeah, well, I think he said it one before or after whatever. I apologize, Brock, but he said, "Yeah, it's a car that doesn't allow baggage."
Yeah, I think he said you'd be hard pressed to put your lunch in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like your car.
Yeah,
I know. I went out when he came in.
Okay, I have to squeeze myself in, and I'm 5 foot nothing. I don't know how you drive in there.
I just sit on my bum and roll.
How do you get out of this darn tootin' thing? This is his midlife crisis toy.
Oh no!
I went out and gave him a pat on the back.
It's not midlife crisis. It's midlife able to afford.
Right.
That's the problem. I couldn't do it in my 20s.
Right? Yeah, we talked about that too.
I said
The
that.
cake stage.
The cake stage.
I want my cake first.
Okay.
We talked about this.
Yeah, the divorce, the 4 stages of divorce. We were talking
retirement.
retirement.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were talking as we were waiting.
Waiting for you.
I'm
somebody
sorry.
to- yeah.
Clients are important. You know that.
Don't be too hard on yourself.
No.
You were only 18 minutes late.
No, I was not 18 minutes late.
And it's amazing that she made it from Kempville in 18 minutes, isn't it?
Right?
Oh, look at the face.
No, I left at 22.
Oh, the Ontario Provincial Police listening. She signed a waiver.
No, actually, 1:39. I got in the car and I went, oh shit.
Well, that's Daren called you, and I said, all we're going to hear, put it on speaker, because it's going to be shit.
And the
I'm coming.
The traffic was really slow. I'm telling you, I'm not using that as an excuse. I have to tell you that my kid has been late to work at his new job that we are his bosses. And when he used the same excuse 2 days in a row of getting behind traffic, you know where we live compared to where he goes to work. He works in Spencerville.
Yeah. How much traffic is on Charlieville Road to 21? Yeah.
At any rate, needless to say, yes, traffic was really slow.
Although there is traffic in Kempville these days.
There's
we were
a
just
lot
talking
of
about that.
traffic.
43 is a nightmare.
Kempville is
Nightmare.
Kempville infrastructure-wise, I think, is in a lot of issue, and it's going to boom faster than they can
Well, it's
mitigate
underway,
it,
right? They're going to start building that bridge. But anyway.
which is going to make it worse.
Oh, for sure it's going to make it worse.
Like construction, my industry. Like this is it. It's not like renovating, starting a home build. You're going to dig a mud pit to start a house. It's not going to get better. You know, the foundations have to be laid in order for things to improve. It's going to create chaos. And then there's going to be side streets that are going to be taken as secondary routes that are now going to get destroyed.
True. So podcasts fade.
Yeah.
You were just talking about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think
See,
everyone
took
needs
over as host there.
Wow.
I like this.
All right.
everybody
Interviews.
Another
There
gold
you
star for you.
I think everyone needs to give a little pat on the back though, because seriously, podcast fade is very real. 80-90% of podcasts fade.
Yeah, but Buzzsprout, I think they said it was like 80%.
Yeah, within the first couple months.
Yeah. And how long have you guys been? How many years?
4?
No, for the podcast.
Podcast 3. Yeah.
3?
No,
Did we go right off the start?
We started fairly quickly.
Okay.
Wow, so
Like,
you
I
guys
would
are
say
well
maybe
over
6
me.
months.
Yeah, we it was pretty quick.
We
I
did
thought you were
pretty
after
quick.
me. How many years?
Oh gosh.
Year and a half now?
Yeah, I'm 2.
But 3.5 years.
Yeah, 3.5.
We're almost, because we started
No,
in
I'm-
November.
I'm just
this year's
under 2.
4 years, and I think we started the podcast literally within the first couple months.
Yeah, I don't think it was that long.
Brooke, you got to be more than a year and a half.
Could be 2.
You were before
I'd have to
COVID.
check when my first episode was. Oh, it was before COVID. You're right. Oh, so it must be more than 2 years.
More than
Wow.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be 3.5, because I think about 6 months in, I started mine, and yours was like in the lower level of episodes, but there was enough content for me to be like,
I definitely started before COVID.
Locally.
I think part of it has to do with if you are persistent and keep going, you're going to slowly acquire more listeners, and you're going to just through persistence, grow. Right.
Yeah.
I think we at first, what was it? Maybe 2 years ago, we were at about 4,000 listeners, and now we're somewhere around 6.
That's amazing.
So it keeps on building, but it's evolution, right? It's not giving up. We would ask people like yourselves, how do we get better? What do we need to do to get better?
I'm smiling because I find this funny. Like, I was telling Brooke, we had RBC reach out to sponsor our episodes, RBC Small Business.
That's amazing.
Sure, but when they started asking for your stats and they're double digits, I mean, I'm like, well, we have 22 episodes, we have 750 subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're expecting something else.
I don't think so, man.
They responded. They were.
When they were. I was gonna say. I'm surprised.
So I said I was desperate. Not desperate. I just like, well, I'll work as I grow on a. Remember, I've had. And I think I wanted to ask is triggers that you've seen spikes or not on your podcast, but mine was obviously Dragon's Den and Loft.
Right.
So Loft, if you don't know who Loft is, you've been kind of under a rock. Loft is a major disruptor in rental space.
Okay.
They're communal rentals. I've been talking about doing something similar for 10 years. And I was fortunate enough when I did Market & Co.'s design at Newmarket and Square One to be introduced to the Loft concept. So you can go in and literally check in with your phone and rent a space to do a podcast, to have a client meeting, to brokerage a deal anywhere in Canada.
That's really cool.
So you just log in and they'll set an office up with your branding if you rent from them.
That's really cool.
So like red and white, blue, green, whatever.
Wow.
They will set it up. And it's really low income. It's all about shared space. So they brokered a deal with malls because the tenancy was down, that they would go in and only profit share rather than pay rent and fill these spaces. And they're gorgeous, high-end, modern. The phones are there, the faxes are there, the copy machines are there, your laptop plugins are there, tables, chairs, boardrooms, small offices, kiosks, whatever you need. It's a space to work.
Are they here in Brockwell?
They're not into the small towns yet. They have 5, I think, in Toronto. And then they're in Ottawa, they're in out east, huge. They're kind of working their way across. But anyway, they're a big mover and shaker. And I think we got 70 listeners on that podcast within like an hour of the release. And they've been commenting and sharing it on LinkedIn. They're very good at social media. So that's my benefit to get noticed. But I'm telling RBC my stats and I'm like, you realize I'm like a year and a half old and I've done 20 episodes of Brockville businesses.
If somebody's thinking about sponsoring me, email me first because that phone call would surprise me and I do not know my stats. So give me some warning. I'll need to look.
It's on Buzzsprout. They give it all for you.
But I just haven't looked in a while. I don't know.
I didn't want to look because I didn't want to cry.
Listen, you know what? You're probably in the top 5% of all podcasts.
Yeah.
Just because of the fade. Like
Well,
most people drop
It's
out.
the consistency.
And the consistency. It's true though. Like, I mean, even some of the most successful podcasts out there, I'm not talking Joe Rogan, right? Because Rogan's off the charts. But, like some of the most successful podcasts have somewhere between 30 and 40 listens per episode.
Yeah, and I'm sitting at 55
like, that
is my average.
Incredibly successful for a podcast. Where you really get your listeners is time. Over time, because you might get them initially, but then people go back and listen to other episodes, and then it drives up the number of listens, right?
Just gave you a dirty look. You did it again.
That's right. Yes.
Don't touch the table.
That's right. Yes. I know. I'm very expressive.
Yes.
But no, it is. But it's you do automatically have to compare yourself to the Rogans.
Yeah.
Because the guy is a god of podcasts.
Yeah, but it's also his social media team. I mean, it's not him doing it, right? It's not him.
Depending how much you know about him, he doesn't even pick up his phone.
Right.
He does not log into Facebook, social media, any of it. He denounces it. And yes, it is a team that handles it.
Exactly.
He does not. He says it's so negative. and the comments would deteriorate his life.
But he also came from, what was it?
Fear Factor.
The Fear Factor thing,
Yeah.
and then he was doing the MMA stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Still does that.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember back in the day when he was first starting out, I'm like, is that a joint? Is he smoking a joint on the podcast? I'm like, I gotta listen to this podcast.
And now they have an ensemble of joints and
yeah.
their own hot room and everything else on the show. But it's, but you still have to want to be Michael Jordan. You still have to want to be Joe Rogan.
And I think you have to sort of take a step back and say, why are you doing the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So for you really just have a love for the Thousand Islands area, right?
Yeah, and the people. I love the people. I do not relate to that so much. Like, I would be content if people around here had, heard of it. That would be an accomplishment for me.
They are now. All 50 of my listeners.
Hello, everyone.
And that's a high percentile.
You're in the top 5%. This is an honor.
Who knew we were doing so awfully well?
Awfully well.
Next, what do you think is the next evolution from podcasting? Video?
Actually, I think, and that's kind of why I wanted to do the Super Podcast with you guys, and we're working on another one, is I think this is the next evolution. I think businesses need to get onto podcasts, need to use this medium as a way to, DivorceNet used it as a marketing tool.
But it is going to be video too. And that's going to be non-negotiable.
I don't know. Our video is very low.
Really?
Our audio only is way higher than our video
Well, I'm
content.
surprised
Could be me. I don't know.
I think that a lot of people spend time... No, but I think a lot of people spend time in their vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not so much since COVID because they're not commuting as much, but people spend time, or it's playing on their radio, or it's...
So I do while I'm doing CAD. I have it in my earpods.
Yeah, I'm
just
sometimes
playing
cooking in the kitchen, and I don't have time to watch, but I'll listen.
I'm more of an audio person too, but my understanding is that all the social media platforms are only going to be rewarding people who have video attached to their posts, and that you're going to stop even appearing if you don't.
But Facebook just dropped podcasts.
Oh.
Did you get so they just brought it in January where they're accepting RSS feeds.
Okay.
And I got an email last week that they're discontinuing podcasts. That it did not work.
No.
Oh, that's 3 months?
But Instagram's keeping it.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's Facebook Podcasts. You can actually attach it to a page now, your RSS feed, and it lets your followers know. So it's almost boosting your subscribers through Facebook.
But not anymore.
Well, they're dropping it and putting it only to Insta. So it's all one. It's all that meta, whatever it's called. But they're dropping it. And it was for Facebook. I figure a 3-month trial seems
very
like
short.
a penny in the bucket.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
But something happened that they said, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No
They do enough background research to know.
Oh,
what
can you imagine how many analytics they have on 3 months of podcasts?
Yeah.
So one of the things, when we talk about video, I was at a conference last Thursday. It was an industry conference, and it was a guy who actually does a mortgage brokering podcast.
Okay.
But he also
I won't stop you.
helps produce podcasts and stuff, right? So he was there to flog his business a little bit, but also to, how many of you podcast? Tina puts her hand up, right? How often do you podcast? Well, we take, and it's so then he started signaling me out, and so that's why I was texting you questions. Where do we put our stuff? I don't know.
I have a Daren for that.
That was about. I was like, why does she want to know? And I'm like, oh, here it is. It's all. I'm like,
Tina's getting technical.
She never asked me these questions.
I know, because this guy kept asking me questions, and I'm like, I said,
Would you do it if you
know.
didn't have Daren for that stuff? Would you take the time to learn it? Because if you don't take the time to learn it, it's hard. Like Buzzsprout was hard to find for me.
Don't look at me. I have not taken the time to learn it.
Well, you're running it.
I'm running it, but I have a team of volunteers that does. I am the face and the questions. That's basically it.
And they take it.
They do the
Maybe I'm an
audio
odd duck.
editing. They do the upload.
You are.
I have a friend that runs my
Thanks,
social
buddy.
media.
But I love odd ducks.
I am not doing the hard stuff.
That's the thing, right? And this guy was sort of telling you about, but also one of the things I wanted to say was the micro content, right? So every time you drop a little bit of video, that just drip it. Like that dripping is really...
That was all me. I said to him I wanted quick clips.
I love that.
We were just talking about that for the show. Those little tidbits get you, I want to listen to that, right? So I think, and he very specifically talked about micro content and how important it is. And we've talked about it too. Yeah, that's what Frank's doing now.
Yeah.
I was telling Dave that they're pulling stuff.
Complimenting Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the idea.
Yeah, no, and
we're taking it.
And it just...
Gold star for you.
You were the keeper of the gold star.
But it's I spend an obscene amount of time trying to perfect everything I do.
No.
And I had to learn even the times that the quick clips worked on social media and YouTube. YouTube's a whole nother beast. But the times to post them so I have a YouTube channel and I've got the RSS feeds. So they don't work together. You can't use Buzzsprout to go to YouTube. Right. You have to publish and conform and all this other stuff. But I really wanted to, and believe it or not, it's about 2 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays that the quick clips just fly. And that's after a day and a half of work. People are on their computers, on their social media. Because I'm businesses. You can't tell me it's kids. Right? So they're all, all of our staff are slacking off at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Curtis.
He slacks off all.
But I found that, but then it was, what day am I going to publish? So I publish Fridays at 4. When do you guys publish your episodes?
What are we, Tuesdays now? We used to go Wednesdays in the afternoon at 3 o'clock.
And did you know why you shifted to Tuesdays was because of the timing and the
I can't remember. We did some algorithm checking.
Okay, and...
I'm Thursdays, and it's because my social media manager is off on Thursdays. So
but Thursdays is a hot day for, our approved professional. Thursdays comes up a lot on my stuff, and even the golf tournament, it's Thursdays. But my podcast, it seemed Friday at 4, people were, I don't know if it's that headphoned up and head home or what, but that seemed to be where I was hitting that 50 to 60 listener compared to originally, I think we did Mondays. And we were only getting 20 listeners.
They say Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the biggest day for podcasts.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that people.
So I'm rocking on a Friday out of the norm.
There you go. Well, everything with you.
Friday makes sense to me though. Friday seems like the day that people would be listening on the way home from work. But
I described it to my wife and I always try to be sarcastic. And I said to her, it's because the analytics guys are off on the weekend. So on Monday, when my stats get published, it's actually 3 days worth of stats. But it looks oh my God. It's like you rent equipment on Friday and you get the extra day because nobody's there to pick it up on Sunday.
Nobody's going to pick it up or drop it off.
Exactly. So that's what I told her. It's really a combined 3 days, but Fridays looks great. I only get 10 a day, but it's 30 come Monday.
I hope you don't take that approach with your measurements.
It's about 6 centimeters today, but it could be 20 by Monday.
Oh my goodness.
But it's we have to look at those analytics and know how, because it really is a business. I treat mine as a business.
Yep.
Nope.
No,
hobby, 100% hobby. I'm just here to bring joy to the local residents.
I think that's awesome.
I do too.
That is good.
I think that's
I've honestly
gold star for you.
Not that anybody wants to sponsor me at this point, but I was like, I don't know if I would take a sponsorship. I don't know if I want to monetize something that I'm just doing for fun and that I want other people to have fun with. I feel like that would cheapen it.
There becomes a greater responsibility, right?
That too.
And so if you're doing it for the joy and the fun, do you need?
Yeah, and then I have to be selling you as well, and then I also have to believe in what you're doing. So I just
and you know what else? I find I don't want that handcuff on me to not be. So if RBC sponsors me, I don't want to get.
Now you all.
I don't want to stumble because I say TD.
Yes, I would not like that.
Right, or you can't bring me on.
For whatever,
because
right?
I'm a
conflict of interest.
Yeah, I don't like having that handcuff. I really like to speak freely.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we very rarely. We will sometimes drop an F-bomb, or sometimes some of our guests will drop an F-bomb. But generally speaking, we're pretty clean. Oh, yeah. But you guys, some of yours, it's just F-bomb, 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 F-bomb.
Brock was.
And I'm like, oh man, Curtis is he's awesome.
Well, I think so.
That's why I don't like. There's There's one other one, a big fancy guy.
And it's just curse.
I don't.
I try not to.
Johnny V.
I try not
okay.
to, but you get like when you got somebody like Brock.
Yeah.
It's hard with a personality that big not to try to mimic the energy, match that
it just
energy.
Happens.
Yeah.
And I found myself for that one. Natasha even said it was a little excessive, and I was like, I found myself get pulled into contractor world
Right.
because I deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's the person with the biggest FU that gets the problem solved.
Yeah.
Right.
And Brock and well, you said it when we sat down, a lot of alpha personalities here. It's really hard when you're jockeying with somebody that you admire, and you're trying to match personalities and keep it on topic. But his book is littered with it.
Right.
He's literally the only, I think it's something along the lines that literally there's nothing in this world you can't do. You just haven't fucking found the time.
I mean, I don't think any of us are going to get sponsored by, like, children's shows or, like, baby companies, so it probably doesn't matter.
See Dave's
that
latest
much.
children's book?
Yeah, brought to you by Toys R Us.
Yeah, what the fuck
my
Canada?
God.
I hope my mother doesn't listen to this because she Tina.
Yeah, and I think one episode with you kind of mouthed because we were talking about something that was very passionate and it was wrong, and you're just like, it just makes me want to scream like, fuck off. And it's like, meh. And she's like, wait, I can swear on here. I was like, yes, you can. And she said it.
No censorship.
No, well, and it's one of the, I think, where we started with podcasts being an avenue to express yourself. It is people that listen to podcasts aren't asking for the polished Grey's Anatomy star and even Joe Rogan. He is fame, and the reason he's gaining fame right now is because news is losing fame because they're being scripted. He is not being scripted. If there's an issue today, he brings a professor for that issue and puts him on the show, and then listens. And asks stupid questions. I really model my questions after the way he asks. Because a lot of times you'll hear me say, and Natasha says that it's Joe Rogan, because I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You're saying, that's going to go off, and I have to shut that off. But it's fine. You guys keep chatting. It's he has to...
It's the opposite of a gold star.
Dave's back.
Dave gold stars away?
Whatever the opposite of a gold star is, you get one of those. But I have absolutely done that. I've had my phone go off because I forgot to have it on silent during a podcast, and I was just like,
So mine's on silent, but I've been really good and trying to lose weight for 9 weeks. And I've been following a program, and I've got the alarms for me to have a snack or something set.
That's kind of cool.
It is.
You're going to be like Pavlov's dog.
Suddenly you're hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm hungry now.
If I start vibrating, it's because I need to eat my apple.
My phone is on silent, but my 2 brothers are an emergency bypass, so I texted them and I was like, don't text or don't call me for the next hour because you'll ring through.
Brothers having...
No, emergency bypass means that they ring through even
You can
if...
you can set it so Daren and I can come.
I was like, what are they doing? Are they on the table or what? Like, what's going on here?
They're in surgery, but I'm here.
Siamese,
I've got
they
my
share.
priorities straight.
Don't interrupt me if you die, because I'm on a podcast, okay? I have these priorities.
And this is not selfish.
How is it the 2 of them at the same time?
Yeah, what did he
I was
do?
thinking, I
I've
was
had
like,
surgery.
genetics going on there, let me tell you.
Do we need a defib here just in case?
I have one.
Wow. Yeah, no, they're on emergency bypass, so I'll think
not
my
allowed to
phone
play
is
with it.
off, and then it'll
That's
ring
the thing
anyways,
about it.
and I'm like, right, it's because it's them.
Yeah,
But you never know.
I don't even have anybody, my kids, nothing. Like, call, text, if I don't answer, it's because I'm not there, not listening,
Too
loading,
bad
or
for
I'm in a
you.
meeting.
I find as I progress, like I'm not even touching it as much. Like I just leave it. I turn the ringer off. I don't pay attention to my phone. I'm not. I joke around with you a lot about this retirement era.
Yeah.
I really think I've matured and it's there.
Yeah.
I just.
For sure.
I disconnect, and Natasha will text me, and she's like, she'll be like, how come you didn't answer me? I was asking if you need anything before I left Brockville. And I'm like, I don't even know where my phone is.
Oh, I don't relate to this.
No. I mean, I have an Apple
You
Watch.
don't? Oh my
It
God.
hasn't been turned on. Like, the battery's been dead for at least 6 months.
I sold mine.
I should.
Yeah, the battery died, and I'm like, yeah, that's a sign. So,
Yeah. Mine just sits on the side table, not on the charger.
yeah.
Mine's under my leg, and it has vibrated 3 or 4 times.
phone?
Yes, and I'm just like, I hope nothing important is happening.
Oh.
I just looked, nothing has
Yeah, by all means, look.
Oh, what? You guys are looking at your phone?
I can't
These
see it without reading.
there's certain clients that always have it up, and I just assume it's
I usually
business.
do it like that.
I literally leave mine. I'll leave here some days, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta go back and get my phone.
Mine's on silent, not vibrate. Silent.
Yes.
24/7.
Yes.
Mine is too.
24/7.
Wow.
It doesn't buzz. It doesn't.
So
I don't
mine's
feel
not.
it,
Mine's not.
nothing.
But
Oh wait, look at the shock on her face.
How did
So
you guys do that?
Oh my God.
Mine
Okay, so-
goes to silent daily at
a certain
4:30,
time. Yeah.
and fires back up at 5 because I'm up and running
So
by 5:30.
why?
But
Why does that give you stress?
Well, okay, so part of it is because I'm a realtor and,
Yeah.
like, you know, I need to be able to respond to emails and inquiries and phone calls. And, you know, I work with a team of professionals that need to reach me regularly.
like inner office is key to like you
Yes,
guys text.
exactly.
I'm feeling your energy right now. Just talking
I'm
about
very
it.
passionate about this.
We gave her the heart attack over the no phone thing.
I gotta turn my phone up.
We're all gonna start
Just
texting us
thinking
with
about it
vibrates
is
more.
really stressful for me. But I also have 2 younger brothers who I'm very close with, and they rely on me for a lot of stuff. And so, like, I worry that, like, if I'm not accessible to them, they might have an emergency. I don't have any kids of my own, but, like, my brothers are very important to me. So, like, there's that.
That was subtly
And-
her brothers are her kids.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I don't call them out like that because they're 20, so it's embarrassing for them. But 100%.
So gonna listen to this show.
only 55,
Yeah,
only
they're all about
55
BB.
people.
They love
Only
BB
55
stuff.
people are gonna hear it.
Yeah, no, people need to be able to reach me, and I'm a millennial, so I'm a typical, like, I'm addicted to social media. I'm addicted to
Oh, I
texts.
could-
Yeah, could not possibly go a full day without my phone. I put it on vibrate when I sleep.
So is that bugging you
Vibrate?
not to have the
Vibrate.
podcast?
What do
Like,
you
it
mean?
does it bug you the same level not to have your podcast running during?
A little bit, but then it's more of like I have so many responsibilities in order to, like, find a guest and do everything and get it together that I'm like, I'll just put it off for one more day.
2 months later.
Yeah, 2 months later, literally.
And that is the problem, right? When you talk about that fade, right? Is
Well,
that,
guests has got to be everyone's pain in the butt to get.
A little bit. I think
Well, you guys have hit a stride.
So guests have never been a problem for us to find. It's really the guests that are gonna level up the podcast. So when you bring people on, we've had some people, and we've been very fortunate. We've had maybe about a half a dozen guests who were kind of like, oh my God, Tina and I were pulling teeth.
Oh,
it's
I've
like
had one.
that one, we know, we were in
Yeah.
Winchester.
No,
Oh yeah, anyway.
doesn't matter.
And it was like,
Yeah.
we were giving her
They lost some full
completely
stats.
open-ended questions, and it was pretty much one-word answers, or like,
that hurts.
and
My
then
heart.
she wasn't even, and we knew the answers
Yeah.
to some of those questions,
Yep.
and she wasn't
Softballs.
even giving us the answers.
So was
like,
it nerves? Do you think, or
I
just
don't know.
not their format?
That was partly her personality.
Yeah.
It was partly the personality. It was partly possibly nerves.
Maybe.
You know, she was just wasn't engaged.
But
You know?
to talk
Our-
to her one-on-one, I think, but that was
so cameras off. It was fine, and you were like, okay, she can talk, she can carry.
Yeah.
like, I think you could have a good conversation
Yeah.
with her, and I think if we had more experience in it personally, we might have been able to draw it out a little better.
Yeah.
We would have maybe
If she was like 60 podcasts.
Yeah,
in,
yeah, we might
but
have
she
been
was in the
able to-
first like 20 or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
That's what I think I like about yours is because it's humble and sweet. Like you guys are on a smaller table, you're chatting
Yeah.
literally that close, and just bang 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 bang.
Yeah.
People come in here, they're intimidated when they see 6 cameras.
Yeah.
And normally that's where I'm like, uh-oh.
I have had
I
a lot
know.
of people ask me, is this going to be on camera? And then be very relieved when I said no. But I would like to have cameras, actually.
That's where the
I
release
actually
comes
tell-
into handy because it says everything's on there.
Yeah, I tell everybody that it's not on camera, just see what they're going to show up like. Oh, by the way, we made a change.
Yeah.
And then they said,
We're in a studio.
and they're wearing the bunny slippers, right?
Yeah, Brock did like a full wardrobe change when he came in.
He did?
He did. He got on like the Mojave alligator shoes and the fancy socks and suited up. And I was like, I know you signed. I think I said to him, I know you signed a release, but are we going right to boxers here? Like, he went right to full suit and then sat down Mr. GQ. Curtis just showed up GQ.
You got the white tube top going on. And the white Peter shirt.
I just don't think you can sit in an M8 and shift comfortably in a jacket.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So I mean, So that's weird. So I like. So you guys going to I would say you're the bigger podcast, the bigger,
I don't know.
volume content, and you're really working it. So that's, again, kudos to you guys. I find the hard part is getting guests to come on. Like, we hit strides where I'll be like, okay, this month's fully booked, but then Easter hit and all of April, there's like nothing.
Yeah.
And then there's none. How have you found getting...
This is on me because I have such a broad possibility for who I could be interviewing that I just need to be a little better about following up. Like, people will be like, yeah, but like this week doesn't work and next week doesn't work and I don't know, maybe next month. So if I was a little better about it, I don't think I'd have any problems because I want to interview everyone in the Thousand Islands. Like, I have a bunch of my friends are actually baristas at Starbucks, and the stories, especially during COVID, the stories that they would tell me about how they were being treated by customers were like disgusting.
But that's somebody you could shotgun question to, like, what's the greatest order? Like, I record my wife's orders because I always say like the mocha freaking fucking lappuccino.
Yes,
but
yes.
hers is like a
Starbucks
Villa
hater.
Bean something or other. But I watched a YouTuber recorded it. So you wouldn't say, hi, welcome to Starbucks, can take your order, just play. Blah, 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 blah. Wait, you're supposed to be with me. I thought all guys did this.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I like it.
And then
This is real? This isn't a joke?
No,
You did that?
I do that.
Still does
And
it.
so
It's
Dave Annable drives up and he...
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, how much did you say that was, bud? He's like,
Hang on a second, I got the voice recorder here.
Oh my gosh, I 100% thought you were kidding. Wow.
well, I can't remember the name. It's like a double. No, it's something Italian.
my
Skinny
sister
latte, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
half
that's-
skim, half this, and so
Well, Tina knows I try to have fun with life. So, like, my wife and I, we go through the whole Venti, Grande, but Grande's the smallest, but Venti's the
the
biggest.
tall is the smallest.
It doesn't make sense. So I get into a full-on debate of how the tallest is the smallest, but the biggest is the
I
medium.
just say small or medium. I
didn't know we were
They
allowed.
will, yeah,
I've got
they'll
my,
still-
I've
they
got
can
like,
read between
If
the
I'm paying
lines.
for it, I'll call it whatever I want.
They don't correct you. They're not jerks. They'll
I didn't know. I didn't want to be that guy.
One time I had my oldest son go get me coffee when I was in my other office, and there's like a little coffee shop right next door. So I hand him money and I say, go get me a medium, and leave room for cream.
A medium, leave room.
Yeah, for cream.
Oh, you're making
And
my
he's
head
like,
hurt.
he gets his coat on, and I'm like, where are you
medium
going? And
roast.
he's like, to get your
Medium roast.
coffee. You want something at Starbucks, right? Because of the way I was talking, I'm like,
We
no,
just
no.
figured out what a
Yeah,
medium
we just
was.
figured out what
A
you're talking
medium
about.
coffee,
Dark roast.
medium roast, and leave room for cream.
Medium.
I was like, is that double cupped?
It's like a
Two mediums?
double.
No, but no.
Only pour a
It's like
medium
the next
amount
step
of
down
milk
from
that
a
you
double
normally
to medium.
pour. We both just went,
Medium roast, medium coffee.
Yeah.
My
so-
dad used to say,
So, as all of you have just illustrated, they have some excellent stories.
yeah, we just
people
did a
do some
5-minute
weird stuff.
Starbucks
Yeah,
promo.
you just did a
We're all
bit.
getting sponsored by Starbucks.
So some of the stories
The
I've
Hot
heard were
Wheels track.
crazy, but during COVID, people were nuts. Like during the contact tracing times, they had somebody phone the police on them for trying to get their information before they could sit down. It was wild. I think they were from Quebec where they had different rules there, but it was wild. So I want to talk to like people in the service industry. Like, what is going on? Are people like? I think people in the Thousand Islands are very nice. Sometimes my barista friends give me stories that make me question if that's the case. So like I want to get people that are like boots on the ground service industry telling me some of their stories. Like are the people around here as nice as I think? I would love to talk to people on like council. I want to talk to every business owner in town. So if I can just be a little more persistent about getting people on, I want to talk to everyone.
Well, a wise man
Look out
once
further.
introduced
Yeah,
me
look out
to
further.
an app called
Yeah.
Calendly. And that's what
time management.
Calendly is the best thing.
Darren introduced. I was booking all my appointments for everything manually, and Darren's like, "Oh, I use this thing called years." He's like, "I use Calendly," and I was like, "What is it?" He says, "Well, it takes a little time to set it up." Well, now I'm like a wizard.
Oh, that's like you send people links to your.
No, they
Calendar.
they
They
just
see your
go
whole
to
calendar.
Thousand Islands podcast, and for the pros talk, they can only see Mondays.
Right.
Yeah.
That's smart.
And they have it in 4-hour increments, and it sends them text reminders.
Oh my gosh.
Text them email reminders, and adds it to all the
Where
universal.
has this been all my life?
Calendly is the best thing ever.
Oh, the financial guy's been holding back.
Okay,
Yeah.
just saying.
This is an industry secret.
Just saying. So we got ourselves set up,
It's
and
gold.
I didn't want to have Calendly on my calendar because I really want to control it, and I want to be able to control it at a whim. So my fear to set up this was that I was going to just get booked and booked and booked and booked. Well, Calendly, you can set parameters, right? So because
Only 90 days
only
out.
Mondays.
I only
Or
do-
how far out?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and like I can block off what time like you say, I can block off what time I'm available.
Hey, just go in and delete a day.
Or like
Oh,
Wednesdays, I
okay.
work at the pantry.
Yeah.
So I've bought another business.
Just
and
Wednesdays.
Just
yeah, yeah.
Unless you're gonna flip me off.
What did Tina do yesterday?
Which
Well,
wasn't Wednesday.
Everybody else was at home on
Uh-oh.
Mother's Day.
Oh.
Anyway,
That had to be one hell of a dinner when you got home.
I didn't get home till 8:30, quarter to 9.
Oh my
so,
goodness.
Tried to give him a bail.
Needless to say, so I book off, so nobody can book appointments. So then I know, okay, I don't allow people to book between after a time and
Yeah.
before a time, and you can't book an appointment for me on the same day. So you can't get up to today at 6
And the
o'clock.
buffer times,
and
too.
there's-
Yes.
And there's buffer times, and
Oh
even better,
Yeah. It's a great app.
You
It saved my
can.
butt.
Oh, trust me, I love it.
you can. This is the coolest thing ever. You can book it in person, via the phone,
Or Zoom.
Or Zoom. If you choose Zoom with me, it creates the link
The
and
Zoom meeting.
Oh,
sends
wow.
Everything.
And then it reminds you the
Okay,
day
that's
before.
amazing.
them. Oh yeah.
And then it texts you an hour before,
Oh, yeah.
whenever you set it
I
up.
need
Oh, yeah.
Mine's
that in
3
my
hours
life.
actually.
Yeah.
And then after the meeting, you can actually ask for follow-up.
Yes.
To take feedback on what you thought went well with the meeting. I don't go that far, but like
It's
I
crazy
do.
what it does.
Yeah, that's really organized.
These
This
are all
is
my
literally
reminders.
a sales pitch for
Oh,
Calendly
that
right
is
now.
so
I told you we were
great.
You
gonna
should try
go
to get some money for
sponsorships.
that, yeah.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever?
So mine, like
That
we're
is really
we're
cool,
booking
actually.
we're booking into August right now for clients to sit down
See,
with me,
I
and
won't
they're
book that
holding
far
it.
out.
Okay.
I had to. My industry's getting what you guys experience in real estate.
Yes.
My industry's now getting hammered with.
We need more houses.
Well, it's just the amount of people looking to build
Yeah.
is insane,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's no materials.
Yeah.
Like it's just, but we're to a point where there's not enough time in the day, and we are booking. You know, like I get here at 5:30. By 8 o'clock we open up the door, and we work till 4. 4 days a week. Monday's reserved, but Mondays I'm still working. You can come over to my house on a Saturday, and I'm in my office working. Like your husband drives by quite early, and he's like, "Dave's not joking." Like it's 5:30, 6 o'clock on a Saturday and Sunday. Dave's in the front office. He can see me. Like it's go go go. So we have to. We're now mitigating people thanks to Calendly to say we're maxed out this month.
We should send this.
You are
to
gonna.
Calendly
Yeah, well, no, we
first.
said that we want to.
Yeah,
We got.
yeah.
We got banks. We've got Calendly. We've Starbucks.
Oh,
So-
you gotta get on it.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny how
And it
I
might
found
cost you
Calendly?
a
The
little
same
bit,
podcast
depending on what you
that
want.
got me going on podcasting. So probably about 3-4 years ago, I subscribed to a podcast called Top Advisor Marketing.
Yeah.
It's like the 1% of the 1% of advisors that kind of like the disruptors in the industry, the cutting edge. So all they talk about is how to run the perfect practice.
Like the perfect ship.
The perfect ship, how to sail it exactly.
That's cool.
perfect. So every time they have a podcast, they talk about what saves you time, what disrupts the industry, how to get in front of people in the right way, not just a blaring advertisement campaign. It's how do you get in front of people in the best way possible, and then how do you maximize your value in the time that you have it. Right?
Which
So
doing
Calendly-
podcasts, most of us have another 2 hats that we wear, right? Because there's nobody
2 hats.
short
The
of
guy
Joe
sitting here with
Rogan.
like 15 hats in front of us.
That's called advertisement. We love people bringing us hats, and we want to show. I'd love to just bank a studio in hats.
Yeah.
I think it would look cool, but but we do all wear different hats. Joe Rogan, he's got MMA. He's celebrity. That's another job, but it's amazing. How it seems to be the ones that are crazy and like that have too much to do that don't fade out.
If you need something done, ask a busy person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So
Yeah.
I want to kind of wrap up on some good. So best guess. Best guest.
Best guest.
Like, do you have one? And it doesn't have to be your favorite. Just, it could be something like the Starbucks idiot that records his wife video words like that. It'll be, I'll go down in time remembering that. That, like, who was that showstopper? Or do you have one that just sparks that kind of maybe reinvigorated you, or gave you that woo, or it's always your go-to that you talk to?
I really enjoyed Carolyn Bennett, and when I was especially first getting started, I still do this, but I was like bullying all my friends into being on the podcast. So I had a really good time. Like I had a good time interviewing Jane Vanderbaren. I had a good time interviewing
Jane would
Peter
be fun.
Yurden. Yes, Jane is so fun. And Peter Yurden gave me this crazy Brockville saying, like, you're stavin'. Which I've never heard anyone say in real life, but apparently that was a thing. It meant like falling down drunk, like, you're staving, man. I don't know, but that stuck in
Peter's
my mind.
like, he's seen every Tisk kid come and go, so.
But probably my favorite was Bruce Wiley, because Bruce Wiley is like a local celebrity.
I haven't had a chance to get him on yet.
I had no idea what I was doing. He was like helping me. He was
eyes
so
closed,
nice.
taking a nap. He regrains the whole sound.
Giving me his time. That was awesome. That was before I really like had the editing and stuff down. It was COVID, I think, so we were outside, which was horrible. But yeah, that was the best, because I can be like, who doesn't know Bruce Wiley, right? So
I think that's
be like,
pretty cool.
I got to interview Bruce Wiley.
I've wanted to do Bruce, so that's gold star for you.
Yes.
Stole a guest from, got one of Dave's dream guests.
Yes. Bruce, if you're listening, please don't go on the Pro Stock. It's a competition now. No, that was a joke.
Yeah, we're collecting stars.
Oh my gosh, you blacklisted you.
We're collecting stars.
It's friendly competition.
Oh, it's on now.
All right.
It's on now.
We need Bruce Wiley.
All right, let's do it. I'm up.
Harper, I'm coming for you. So how about you guys?
I don't know. We've done a lot of.
Oh, sorry. Individually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I can't.
That's because they've had so many podcasts.
There's just so many
guests.
I can't really.
This is totally. It's totally. Do you see the rhythm here? It started off with like admiration. Now we're down here, and it's like.
But we've only got 20 guests to remember.
Let us have this. It's all we have. You guys have a studio. Come on.
Only recently. I actually, from a guest point of view, we've had some pretty interesting people. You know, I have to say, we used to ask people about funny stories.
Yeah.
And we talked to.
I think that's one of my questions.
It's and I think we got to do more of that.
Yeah.
But
Adam.
one of our guests was talking about how he was showing a house and the person was still taking a shower and there was no curtain, so he just walked in,
Hola!
and the guy turned around and did a full frontal like a Superman, right? And I was like, that guy owned it. You know, just the way
What's he gonna do?
We're gonna go over here.
That is a nightmare that I've had. It's never happened to me.
I knew when he said showing of a house, I was like, oh,
This is going to be bad.
Oh yeah, and then another person, it was funny because he was also talking about how they were cooking or something like that. They were cooking fish in the kitchen right before they were showing
Which is a
the
no-no.
place. So they burnt, they put fish in the microwave. Say no more, right? You just don't do that.
No, it's supposed to be an apple pie.
Yeah. So, anyways, he had some pretty interesting stories about that.
And who for you?
Like I mean, if you think back about some of the, right? Because our first, say, 3 seasons were all about divorcing and
Yes.
so, you know, it's really, I don't know that I could pinpoint it. I think I enjoy interviewing Daren, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because you guys have done
We've done each other.
We've
interviewed each other.
Back and forth. We've had some fun with that.
I think that for
That's
me,
got to be gloves off.
No,
We're pretty respectful.
No, but it's got to be like, you got to treat them like a guest.
Oh yeah,
we do.
Yeah,
No,
we do.
definitely
Yeah.
do.
Usually we're pretty good until about the halfway mark, and
Yeah.
then all the silliness.
There's been a lot of discussions.
drops.
We're going to end up on an online poll of who gets to interview me.
Oh my god!
Because we're going to flip the switch.
I think you should
It'd
do
be
that.
fun.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
It's going to come
You're
down to a poll.
local. You're local. This isn't a lifestyle. Really, it should be.
Oh!
Oh, that's good. like that.
That's one of the reasons we're having the Super Podcast, because you've never even emailed me to be on.
Oh my gosh. I thought that we would have been like, oh no, you're my competitor. Like, I don't, but now that we're
Dave
here,
doesn't play that way.
Super
Never.
podcast.
No,
You
Dave.
float all the boats.
Yeah.
You raise everybody up. I mean, so many times we've said, let's bring a mortgage broker on, bring on more financial advisors.
Yeah.
If anything, it's great because you can sit there and you already know the industry, so you can throw some easy throws.
But I think with Brooke being your youthful business in Brockville and being a Brockville business guy that came from old school and into my own, and now I'm the elder and seeing these younger, it's hard in Brockville. It is that way.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to break that mold.
In the real estate world too, isn't it? In Brockville.
Yeah, well, I think there's that mentality of like everyone only gets so much pie, and if you get more pie, then I get less pie type of thing. I try not to think that way.
Yeah.
I try to think about like making more pie.
But we're chastised for thinking that way. So me saying I would never consider your podcast a competitor was a shifting gears when I broke out on my own that I had to kind of mold and train my thought. And slowly but surely, we've broken that mold. And I think most people know, but stereotypically thinking of old school Brockville, it is that way.
Yeah.
It you would never see me out to lunch with another financial advisor. Never. How are you going to hone the craft and share and cross-advertise and cross-promote, which is everything Ontario approved?
Collaboration.
It doesn't matter.
So important.
Oh yeah.
I get asked all the time. I'm like, oh, well, how many financial advisors do you have in the Improved Professionals? Well, 2 right now, but I'll take them all.
Sure.
That's a level playing field.
Listen, the ocean is big enough to catch as much fish as you want.
Yes.
And if you
So I'd be
sit
happy
there
to come on.
Worry about your little
excellent.
spots. You know what I mean? You just can't. And I think that if anything, that's what the new the new age of sharing marketing is where people want you to go. They don't want you to build white fences around everything. They want you to open the fences and say, this is who I am. And that's why podcasting is so powerful, because it lets you get to know the people before you do business with them.
Yeah,
and if you, and that is what is that is like, it's the holy grail of business.
It's the gold advertising.
It is.
It's
because
the know, like,
you can
and
get to know.
trust, right? Get to know them. And so for me personally, like, doing a podcast, and I'm very real, like you, David. I'm very real. What you see and what you hear is what you get.
Absolutely.
In my mortgage business, in anything I do, what you see is what you hear is what you get. Like, I don't put on pretenses.
The microphone's always on for her.
Yeah.
It's always on. It's like on, off. It's the same thing.
Mine is, but some people only hear beep, 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 beep. But mine's the same way. I don't. Most people, they hear me or they see the podcast, and when I'm sitting, they're like, "Oh wow, you really talk that way." And I was like, "Yeah, this is Dave."
And then the other thing is that guy from that seminar I went to last week, he was saying that, somebody said, how much of your, if you're doing a mortgage podcast, how much should be mortgage and how much should be personal? And I thought I wanted to say 20-80, but I don't think it was quite that.
I would have went 20-80.
But 20% business, 80% personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our whole model.
And I have people in my life that are like...
You're probably more 90.
Well, I don't talk about like my
95.
business.
No, but your guests.
Yeah, well, no, I want to know more about the personal stuff. I always tell them, like, you get a chance to plug whatever you want to plug, promote the shit out of
100%.
yourself, do whatever you want to do, but, like, I want to know about, like, your life and your history and what you love about the area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe 95.5 for me.
Yeah.
But
For you, yeah, but like if we,
Which is
if
amazing.
we were hosting, if you were hosting a real, let's just say you went in it was a real estate podcast, right?
You would still want that ratio.
Do that,
yeah,
20-80,
okay. No,
right?
I see 80-20 there, or a 20-80 there.
Yeah, so you would do 20% talking a little bit about real estate, and then just talking
then
about
dodge.
life.
Yeah,
Talking
well,
about
that's the
yeah.
great thing
who
about
you are.
everyone's
Because-
been in a house before too, right? So everyone's got like stories about things that have happened to them in houses.
That's
So
another
you
segment. Like, that's crazy. Like,
changed
oh, did you get the Superman pose out of the shower? Like, that's insane.
That would be an awesome one. You should interview realtors.
I mean, I could.
Talking to them about some
That would
of
break the mold,
crazy
too.
stories.
It needs to happen.
Yeah.
Talking to them about the crazy stories.
You'd be surprised.
I
When
did
you give it away,
interview
it all comes
Marianne,
back to you.
and I tipped her off in advance, so it ruined it. But she was like, "I know you're gonna ask me about my hair."
Yeah, see, I don't let stuff like that leak. If I've got something and I'm gonna sideswipe it, I'm coming at you. I like the surprise and shock
the only
and
person
awe.
I throw under the bus is Daren. I do every episode, and I don't know why. I just throw. It's
She
like
does,
when
then
this.
she apologizes.
Profusely. I'm so
Well,
sorry,
she goes,
Daren.
tee.
No, and Alex, like the producer, one of the producers, he's like, "You two have such good chemistry. Like
You guys do.
really
He
tell
calls
that."
us daytime TV.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
would
when you
love-
watch like the morning show or
Yeah.
something. He says
Yeah.
like that's.
We
so
talked
weird.
about a co-host, and we actually had 2 episodes with 2 different co-hosts with
Yeah.
me. And at that time, and I watch it now, I'm sure we all go back and watch the first 5.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. I wasn't listening. I was rushing the questions, and
Because you were trying
I
to-
was trying to get it into the short script, so I was almost talking over.
Yeah.
Again, big personality, right? But I've really learned to listen,
Yeah, you do a really good job.
and but it's hard.
It doesn't appear hard.
It's very hard. No, let me finish. It's hard. But I've had to learn, and it's all kudos to my wife. She's literally just let them finish and have 5 seconds of dead air, because maybe the story's not done. And I've taken that and I've put it. But we tried a couple co-hosts and it didn't work. No, it didn't work.
But were the people that you used for co-hosts?
They were wrong. They were not.
It was them.
They were
just
not
make it
as
to air?
passionate. No,
Right.
no.
Was it
They
what?
weren't.
Did you say?
Did they go to air?
Take it to air.
Yeah, they're now our
didn't.
most popular episodes.
No, but what I'm
But they
saying
weren't
is-
interested in the person. They wanted to talk business.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I'm like,
they didn't
no,
understand
no.
the purpose of the podcast.
I
right?
didn't either, though, at the time. It just, you could tell it wasn't right.
But
and that's
also-
where I was going. You two are right.
Yeah.
That little friendly chirp or poke or throw under the
Like we're
bus.
an old
It's
married couple.
quirky.
Yeah.
It's quirky that
It's my work
works.
husband.
That's what she says
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, no, and it is. Well, I was there. I was business partners.
Yeah.
You are easy to work with, but should be revered on how much you actually know. It's key. And I think everyone here, like I've listened to everyone's podcast, it is key. Like I never in a million years thought I would be a face of business. Or an advocate for business, or done half the radio interviews, and I'm just speaking common sense. Like,
Yeah.
Everybody knows this stuff.
well, with, like COVID, we haven't talked about it. If 98% of the population is vaccinated, we're worried about 2% of 14 million. I start doing the math, and that's just what I talk about.
Right.
But yes, it was serious and blah blah blah. But is anyone else doing the same math I'm doing? Like that's the type of talk that I give. So I didn't know it would translate to podcasts so well, and I think we're all that way, in a sense. It makes so to see what I'm getting at is a co-host scenario very rare, very rare.
Yeah, there's got to be a chemistry there.
Oh, I have chemistry with the people that we tried. Like we're friends and we chat all the time. And I was like, oh, I think I said to you once, is well, when have we only talked for 10 minutes when we bumped into each other? Like the podcast will be fine. You know, it's an hour phone call. I have to call Dave, ask him one question. Clear my calendar, Sarah.
I've never thought about a co-host. I can't picture it really. I feel like it would just take away the one-on-one aspect of it.
And you're very like intimate with like how close you guys are, and that's what works. I think community, being close knit, and being that.
But when it comes to talking over people, like you were just saying, like that is really hard for me too. I have to, even in normal conversations, I have to be like, Brooke, your time of talking is over. Now we listen.
Sit on your hands.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I was like. Sit
I
on
can
my
totally
hands.
picture her in grade school, eh? Like the teacher telling her to do this.
But it only makes it worse because her phone's vibrating. I can feel it now.
I like to talk. I can't help it.
But I think we all do, and that's why we got into this, is to have a good conversation with people that have something to share.
Yeah.
See, I think for us, part of the reason why it works is because we have a good friendship, we have a good working relationship, but also because of such of the intensity of some of our original conversations, our original interviews, is that I don't necessarily have the passion for that particular topic, right? It's
So you're able to trade
it's
it off.
way over my head, kind of. Some of those stuff like that. One guy we had, well, the business evaluator, Rick Evans is a business evaluator, but we had an actuary. Does anybody even actually know what an actuary
I do not.
is?
I don't.
So we had a conversation with an actuary out of Toronto. okay, like I have an idea, but realistically, whoa.
Yeah.
So Daren could carry it, right? So like, and I might be able to make the odd little intelligent comment in times like that, but then there were other conversations where it was totally suited to me, and we barely let you.
That was
I would say Jennifer Wyman. If I had to talk, if I had to now thinking about it, Jennifer Wyman was one of my favorite guests. She is a friend of mine from high school, went through separation, divorce, also did she did a prenup that basically didn't work. So we had this great conversation, and we talked about having dating coaches, and she was gonna come on and host it with me. We barely let you get.
Oh my god, I barely said anything.
Yeah, that was
mine. Was my
bottle of wine on the table.
If I had to say, looking back now, she was probably my favorite.
Mine,
but she's a friend as well.
I had
right?
AI guides on mine, and these are probably the two most intelligent people I will ever have. These guys design AI, and they reached out because of the podcast ranking, because they were doing the top 20 and just calling everyone to go on, and they have found a way to lessen the cost of AI, dilute the cost of AI for small businesses. So they're reaching out to all small businesses on how to use AI to clean it up, right? And like these guys, some of the stuff they're talking about, and I'm like, I'm dead in the water.
Just nod and smile.
And it's just when you meet them, they just looked on point. And John, he got on early, and I always chat it up for about 15 minutes before we go on air, just to loosen it and give the expectations. And I've got that same song roll that I do about swearing, and if you want to say stop, blah blah blah, same thing. But we were talking before, and he's like, oh yeah, so you got a lot of listeners, and we can go into the back end and track onto our, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm picturing the twins from The Matrix right now.
Yeah. You're moving, I don't understand what you're saying.
And I was just like, go with it, Dave. Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that.
Totally.
And then I'm like, I got into what it was, and I was intrigued. I wanted to learn. I was so you're telling me that this is affordable, like my architecture business, we can do this, and there's AI. Oh yeah, there's AI for everything. And I'm like, so I was getting into the whole, like, are they going to run the world? Like, am I going to have a talk with this AI to find out how things are going? Or are they just going to run with it?
It's called Alexa.
Yeah. Yes, David, I'm always listening.
Your favorite? You haven't mentioned your favorite.
My favorite's hands down Theo Graham. Okay. Theo is a young, ahead of his time, energetic business giant to be. He's a contractor. But when we get into the same room, he is one of the few people, and I've got Podcast Dave on right now, Tina can attest, I can speak quick. And I can think just as quick. Theo and I, if you put our podcast on 3 times speed, your brain would explode.
Oh, okay.
And we sat down. We sat down for an hour and 45 minutes and got 2 questions done.
Oh my gosh.
And we feed off of each other like no one I know. And it was just bam, bam, bam. But when he talks, and I use it as an example on a few other podcasts, is he's like his hands and stuff, but he's like, yeah, what do you think your success is? And well, we looked apart, and he did that. And he did it was a tie and a hat. Okay. And I'm like, it was just little things like that really set me, because he really I knew what he meant. That was a suit and tie. That was a fix my hat and the feather in my hat and my tie. But they wear t-shirts. It was just the way he portrayed, and we talked, and it was just bam, bam, bam. Plus, I think because it was contractor and I'm so much building code, we were able to talk about problems. And it was like, if it was everything to do with finance, you'd be like, oh, I've got this one, Tina. Yeah. Like, my hat's on now, or real estate, or brokerage. It just, go. Yeah. And I know a lot about that, and we struck it off, and it's like, we got to do another hour and a half soon. And we just haven't had the time to do it. But he's by far my favorite.
It was like cocaine and nicotine.
We were joking while we started it up. He was like,
there you go, there's your show.
Yeah, we were joking before it started up. I think we said something about buckle up, people. This is going to be a good one. And we were like, just power session. And we were drained. I know we paused recording to take a bathroom break. It was insane. It was insane. But I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of friends on the podcast, and the ones like that original 16 is a magic number for me. I had my original 16 that started the Approved Professionals, and I've had my original 16 that did the podcast, so it's a number that rings with me, and it made it easy. And the benefit of hearing that I'm doing okay with the interviewing is because those friends helped me mold it. They let me talk over them for the first 5 episodes, to get personal, to talk freely, and to risk technical problems. And I've had my share. I mean, GoPros and when I hear that 3 beeps and like cameras have shut off, and I'm like, was it mine? Was it theirs? Please let it be mine.
Like cold down your spine.
Oh, and it's just like, and you're mid, like it always happens when you're mid perfect talk.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I know what just happened. And then I look up, and I'm constantly looking. If I see that red light blinking, I'm good. But if I hear beep, 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 and I'm like, okay, one of the GoPros just said no. And then I'm like, shit, mine's still blinking. That means my guest has no camera. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to buy 4 more cameras. That way, if one fails, I've got another angle. Wow. But that's it. So I've been blessed that way to have people allow me guinea pig on them all the time. It's mostly you most of the time. Like, you've been there for a lot of the guinea pig trials. It's like, hey, I'm going to build a house. Have you ever done it before? That's why I'm calling you.
I'd like to get a mortgage. Have you paid that Home Depot?
Yeah.
It's only $10, Tina. Yeah, Dave, it's $10, but it's been $10 for 3 months.
You know how many people love that story now? People look up to that. They're like, I'm a hero.
No, I'm a hero. Because you finally listened to me.
But
and
we were
guess
doing
what?
math. We were doing math.
You got a mortgage after that.
I agree, but we were doing math on how much it must have cost. Home Depot is insane. So Home Depot was, I live in rural Brockville, so my mail is like by carrier pigeon to a horse to a carriage and then delivered. So Home Depot was calling like 2 days before my bill was due. And they're saying, you're late. I was like, haven't got my bill yet. I tell you this every month. So anyway, got it paid down to like $10. Well, now they're mailing me a letter, calling me twice, and processing late fees for like a 5-cent payment.
Oh my gosh.
Well, little did I know, it was going, oh yeah, that 700-point credit score, it's now 650 this month. Oh. And then it's 600. And then it's 550. And then it's 500.
Oh no, from a $10 bill? Oh my God.
I was on ethics. They were in some sort of social scoring system that I wasn't aware of.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't mess with the man.
For a year.
You don't mess with the man.
Month after month after month. For $10 friggin'.
Crazy.
No, it's not my children that have given me gray hair. It's David Annable.
Oh, there you go. I think we should end the show right there.
Right there.
That's the period.
Boom.
That was the Super Podcast, people.
Yeah. And from that day forward, there was never a listener on Pro Stock.
No, there was no more Dave.
No, I think we should wrap it up. It was awesome. I think you guys,
fun.
I think it is fun. And I think everyone should go on, tune in to each of our podcasts, Thousand Islands Podcast, CleanBreak, and Pro Stock, obviously. And we'll share this on all of our platforms once we get it done. Thank you.
It's awesome. Thank you.
This was great. I'm glad we came.
This was
I'm looking
fun.
forward to your show.
Yeah, me
I
too.
listened to Dave's already, so I'm going to listen to yours.
Yeah, tell
I
me
don't
if you
live
have
near
any
you.
advice, because now I really look up to you guys. So
She's like, shoot, now I got to do episodes.
Book 3 months in advance.
Yeah, book them in
That's what we were going to
I
say.
got Dave agreed to be on the podcast, so now at least I have a guest coming up. So
Cool.
step 1.
More me.
You can always use more of that.
Awesome.
March
Thanks,
in
everyone.
charge.
Thank you for tuning in to our special SuperCast. Big shout out to Brooke from Thousand Islands Podcast, and also Tina and Daren from CleanBreak Podcast. The best compliment you can give any of our podcasts is a subscription. Thank you.